Have you ever stopped to think if you are really living your life, or just going with the flow? How many times do you wake up, complete all your tasks, show up, post something on social media, respond to messages, deliver what's expected of you, and still feel like something essential is missing? It's as if, in the midst of all this, he's left a part of himself behind, a part he might no longer know how to find. Stay with me until the end, because what you discover now may surprise you. This feeling of emptiness, which arises even when everything seems to be going well, has a deeper origin than we imagine. And no, it's not just about stress, fatigue, or routine. It's about disconnection. Not disconnection from networks, nor from the outside world, but from your essence, from your inner world. Alan Watts, one of the most thought-provoking philosophers of the 20th century, was perhaps one of the first Westerners to clearly point out this existential void that haunts us, not with technical discourse or ready-made formulas, but with uncomfortable questions and liberating truths. Watts said that we live in a constant illusion, that we are just a separate self, isolated from the whole, that needs to be constantly proving itself, protecting itself, adapting, fitting in. But what if this vision is precisely what is imprisoning us? What if anxiety, the constant fear of failure, emotional exhaustion, and this relentless search for validation aren't signs that something is wrong with you, but rather that it's time to turn inward? Today in this video, the proposal is simple, and at the same time profound, to invite you to focus on you, but not in the selfish sense the world tries to paint. It's not about isolating yourself or ignoring what's around you. It's about rescue your center, that which pulses silently in the depths of your consciousness, waiting to be heard. And maybe you're asking yourself, but how do I do this in a world that never stops? In a world that demands so much of me all the time? That's a legitimate question. And that's exactly where Alan Watts's genius comes in. He used to say that our biggest trap is thinking we need to become something different to be complete, that we are always one step away, one achievement away, one recognition away from being enough. But the truth, according to him, is just the opposite. You are the universe experiencing itself for a brief moment. Pause. Breathe this sentence in, because if it makes sense to you even just a little, something has already started to change. And it's important to say, this is not a mystical conversation, nor canned self-help talk. It is a call to conscience, an invitation for you to stop running for a moment and start noticing what's happening in there. How many decisions have you made based on fear of what others will think? How many times have you found yourself living on autopilot just trying to get by? How many times have you pretended that everything was okay, just so you wouldn't have to face how you really felt? Have you ever been through this? Alan Watts didn't want you to become a monk, nor did he want you to drop everything and go live on top of a mountain. On the contrary, he wanted you to realize that the inner revolution happens in the present moment, not now, and that requires something that almost no one teaches us. Be present with yourself, without judgment, without masks, without demands. It's funny how we spend so much time trying to fit into external standards that we forget what it's like to simply to be. The good news? You don't have to look outside. Peace, balance, clarity, all of this already exists within you. You just need to make room. And that's why, throughout this video, we'll dive deep into some of Alan Watts's key teachings. Let's understand how he saw the ego, time, identity, and this incessant search for meaning. But more than understanding, the proposal here is to feel, because there's no point in just listening to a beautiful philosophy if it doesn't resonate with you. And I'm warning you now, some of the ideas we're about to explore may shake up long-held beliefs. They may challenge you, but that is the beauty of living philosophy, the kind that is not limited to books but transforms those who are willing to look at themselves with courage. Are you ready for this? So take a deep breath. Forget for a few minutes the noise of the world, and let the words that come next find a space within you. Because sometimes all we need is one powerful reminder. A reminder that life is not a race to reach something out there, but a dance that happens here inside, at the exact moment you decide to go home. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about now, because sometimes all we need is one powerful reminder, a reminder that life is not a race to reach something out there, but a dance that happens here inside, at the exact moment you decide to go home. If this topic resonated with you, leave a comment below with your thoughts so far. Your voice matters, and it might even help someone going through the same thing. And if you want to continue this journey with me, like the video and subscribe to the channel. This really helps the channel grow and spread this message to those who also need to hear it. Now take a deep breath, because what comes next will take you even deeper inside yourself. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. We live in a time where information overload has become a smokescreen. We're surrounded by notifications, endless feeds, busy schedules, opinions from all sides, connected to everything except ourselves. This constant noise isn't just digital, it's mental, it's emotional. It's a whirlwind that silences what truly matters, your inner voice. And it's curious how subtly this happens. You wake up, pick up your phone, respond to messages, see what the world is saying, try to keep up, try not to fall behind. The feeling of urgency is constant. Everything seems important, but deep inside, an uncomfortable silence insists on manifesting itself. An emptiness, a tiredness that can't be resolved with another night's sleep. Perhaps you know this feeling well. The hidden truth behind this way of living is that we've been conditioned to always look outward, to seek meaning in goals, titles, achievements, and comparisons. But the more we chase after them, the further we become from who we truly are. Alan Watts spoke accurately about this trap. The I we believe ourselves to be, this persona we wear every day, it's just a construction of the mind. And when he said that, it wasn't in the sense that you don't exist, but that what you believe yourself to be, your fears, your masks, your temporary identities, are just roles played on a stage called life. The problem arises when we forget that we are acting, and we begin to believe that we are only what we project. Just think, how many versions of yourself have you tried to be to please others? To fit into a relationship, a job, or family expectations? How many decisions have you made trying to be the ideal someone instead of simply listening to what your conscience already knew? This isn't about guilt, it's about perception. When you see the illusion, it begins to dissolve. Alan Watts used to say, "You are not a thing separate from the world. You are the universe experiencing itself." This sentence changes everything, because it takes you out of the logic of separation, the logic that sustains anxiety, comparison, and the constant need to prove yourself. You don't need to prove yourself. You just need to allow yourself to be at peace with who you already are. It seems simple, but it is transformative. The meaning of life is not in something you are yet to achieve. It is now, in that instant you breathe. Watts reminds us of a truth that many ignore for their entire lives. The desperate search for meaning is often what prevents us from experiencing life fully. When you stop running for a moment and turn your attention inward, you begin to notice a subtle movement, that of your own consciousness. And here, we're not talking about fancy techniques or magical promises. We're talking about something real, accessible, and human. The simple practice of observing without identifying. Observe your thoughts like watching clouds pass by. Feel emotions without needing to define yourself by them. Recognize that he has thoughts, but it is not your thoughts. This is more than a mental exercise. It's a mindset shift. It's the key to breaking cycles of repetitive suffering, self-sabotage, and emotional rigidity. And that's why the practice of presence, which has become a trend today, was already discussed by Watts decades ago, in depth and without labels. Being present isn't about becoming a Zen being 24/7. It's just about noticing. It's about stepping out of autopilot, even if only for a few seconds. It's about looking within with curiosity, not criticism. You're not here to be a productivity machine. You didn't come into this world to be more productive, to deliver more, to be more responsive. You are here to live, to experience, to be. This in itself is valuable. It is sufficient. It is complete. But of course, this idea challenges everything we've been taught. We live in a culture that glorifies performance, haste, and non-stop work. And at this pace, disconnecting from oneself becomes the norm, while stopping, contemplating, breathing becomes seen almost as a luxury. Watts challenged this logic. He invited us to rediscover our inner rhythm, the kind that isn't measured by clocks, but by presence. And perhaps this is the turning point, realizing that you don't need to make an effort to be who you are. You just need to stop resisting. Silence, pause, contemplation, these aren't signs of weakness. They're portals. Portals to access a wisdom that never left you. It was just muffled. You can start slowly. 5 minutes. Looking at the sky. A shower taken with presence. A moment without distraction, just breathing. These small gestures have a profound impact because they bring us back to where it all begins. The now. And it is in this now that all true transformation takes place. But here comes one of the greatest paradoxes of inner awakening, and perhaps one of the most difficult to accept. The more you try to change yourself, the less real change happens. Because in this trying, you're starting from the idea that something is wrong with you, that something needs to be fixed. And this traps you in a cycle of self-criticism, demands, and frustration. True change doesn't come from fighting yourself. It comes from radically accepting who you are, here, now. Watts said, when you abandon yourself to what is, what needs to change changes naturally. This is the kind of truth that can disarm an entire mental structure, because it takes the pressure off. It dissolves the idea that awakening is a project, a goal. Awakening is a recognition, and it happens the moment you stop running and simply allows yourself to feel. If you've made it this far in this video, it's because something inside you has already started moving, and that's more than enough. Don't rush the process, don't try to get there, because in truth there is no there, only here. Focusing on yourself isn't selfish, it's healing, it's presence, it's returning to the point of origin, where everything you seek already exists, not as a promise but as an experience. Your world changes when you shift your focus, and shifting your focus is simple. It's stopping looking outside for permission to exist. And if at any point during this conversation you felt something different, even if it was just a small break in the mental noise, comment below. I'm on that journey too. And it's at this point that we begin to touch on something more subtle, and at the same time more true. When you begin to turn inward, even if only slowly, you discover that there's a whole world within you that you've ignored for too long. Not out of ill will, not out of carelessness, but because no one taught you to look within without fear. No one taught you that silence isn't emptiness, that being alone isn't loneliness, that stopping isn't failure. What Alan Watts proposed wasn't an escape from the world, but a change in how you relate to it. Because what changes isn't the scenery, it's the way you look. And when your look changes, everything takes on a new texture. Time slows down, your senses open, and you begin to notice things that previously went unnoticed. The way you breathe, the weight of the words you choose, the impact a thought has on your emotional state. You begin to see the behind the scenes of your own mind, and that changes everything. Understanding what's behind the scenes isn't about control, it's about awareness. It's becoming aware, for example, of how you react whenever you feel rejected, or how criticism disorganizes you, or how sometimes you demand more of yourself than you would of anyone else. And when this awareness arrives, something dissolves. What was once automatic becomes observed, and what is observed attentively begins to transform, not by force, but by the light of presence. It's at this point that many mistake the process for something complicated, mystical, reserved for the few. But Watts said that spiritual awakening isn't a prize. It's a return to the obvious, to the simple, to what's always been there. You are that. You already are. You just forgot. And yes, this is an idea that can be uncomfortable, because we've been so conditioned to look for something out there, in some future version of ourselves, that when someone tells you what you're looking for is already within you, your first reaction might be doubt. But that's okay. Awakening is a process that respects your own rhythm, and often it begins precisely with doubt, with discomfort, with crisis. Some people reach this point after a loss, an emotional breakdown, burnout, a breakup, and sometimes that's exactly what needs to happen for the mind to finally open to something different. No more control, but surrender. No more effort, but listening. Listening to yourself is one of the most revolutionary acts of this era, because it requires you to step out of reactive mode, out of autopilot, out of "I have to get it done," and start cultivating space to simply exist. Not to be better, not to impress, just to exist, in peace, unhurried, unburdened. And when that happens, when you experience even for a few moments this state of acceptance, you realize there's nothing left to prove. You don't need to earn the now, it's already yours. And it's there that the freedom so many people seek in 1,000 wrong directions resides. This kind of transformation doesn't make headlines. It's not visible on social media. It happens in silence, deep in your chest, when you realize you can simply breathe. And it's okay that you may not know the answers, and that's okay. That you can be who you are, whole, contradictory, vulnerable, and still be worthy of love, of rest, of truth. Watts had rare clarity in saying that the ego lives trying to survive the present moment, projecting an ideal future or reliving an edited past. And that's why we feel fragmented, incomplete, always chasing something. But when you anchor yourself in the now, the ego loses its power. It no longer has anywhere to hide. This awareness changes the way you make decisions. You begin to act less out of fear and more out of clarity, less out of pressure and more out of intention. You stop comparing yourself to others because you begin to realize that everyone is on a unique journey, that the other person isn't a ruler, they're just another mirror, and this relieves, it liberates, it transforms. But make no mistake, we're not talking about a perfect life without pain or conflict. We're talking about a new relationship with all of this. The pain doesn't go away, but it no longer defines you. The fear doesn't go away, but you're no longer dominated by it. The mind continues to chatter, but you no longer believe everything it tells you. It's like watching a movie knowing it's just a movie. You still feel, you still get emotional, but you no longer get lost in the plot. And that, in itself, is liberating. This kind of presence reconnects you with something essential, your own rhythm. Not the rhythm of your schedule, nor the rhythm of the market, but your internal rhythm, the one who knows when it's time to go and when it's time to stop, when it's time to speak and when it's time to be silent, when it's time to act and when it's time to just observe. And perhaps the greatest challenge is precisely trusting this, trusting the silence, trusting the pause, trusting that not doing is also doing, that resting is also an act of love, that slowing down is, in many cases, the only way to find yourself again. Watts saw life as a dance, not a race. And that's one of the greatest lessons we can learn from him. Life doesn't require you to achieve something. It just invites you to participate, to be present, to understand, to feel. And that, as simple as it may seem, is a revolution. A revolution that begins within, without noise, without applause, but with a profound impact that extends to every area of your life. Truer relationships, more aligned decisions, a lighter existence, not because challenges have disappeared, but because the way you face them has changed. And it's curious how, as you allow yourself to enter this space of internal listening, everything that once seemed urgent begins to lose its power. That constant anxiety of always being late, of having to rush to keep up with the world, slowly dissolves. Not because the world has become calmer, but because you changed the focus. Because instead of looking outside for salvation, you begin to discover that true security comes from being rooted within yourself. This doesn't mean life becomes perfect, nor does it mean you become immune to chaos. It just means chaos no longer engulfs you. Watts said that suffering arises from resistance, and the more we resist what is, the more trapped we become in pain. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The more force you exert, the faster it flows. And the hardest part often is accepting that some pains simply need to be felt, without explanation, that not everything needs a logical meaning, that Some phases of life serve only to teach us to stay with what is without running away. Maybe you're going through a moment like this, a moment when everything seems jumbled, confused, out of place. And I need to remind you, with all sincerity, this is part of the journey. It's not a failure. It's not a sign that you're behind. Sometimes collapse is the only way the soul finds to call you back home, to your center, to your silence. And in that center, what you find is not a new, idealized version of yourself. It is you, unadorned with its shadows, its lights, its contradictions, its imperfect beauty. That's where true transformation begins. Because real transformation never comes from a place of denial. It's born of radical acceptance. Watts knew this. He said that as long as we're constantly trying to fix ourselves, we'll always be divided, always incomplete. Because this attempt to fix ourselves starts from the premise that there's something wrong with you. But what if there isn't? What if in fact all you need to do is stop running from yourself? This is where the ego begins to tremble, because it feeds on the idea that you will only be enough when you improve, when you achieve, when you become something more. The ego doesn't know how to live in the present. It lives in the past and the future, in what was and what should be. But consciousness, that one, dwells in the now. It observes the ego with compassion, but doesn't allow itself to be controlled by it. And when you begin to live from this awareness, something profound changes. You stop sabotaging yourself. Yes, you read that right. Because self-sabotage is nothing more than fear disguised as protection. It's the inner voice telling you, don't risk it. It's better to stay where you are. You won't make it. You don't deserve this. And when you believe these voices, you sabotage yourself. But when you observe these voices with presence, without identifying with them, they lose their power. Watts said that everything in nature flows effortlessly. The river doesn't try to run faster. The tree doesn't force its own growth. The sky doesn't blame itself for being cloudy. But we humans have created this logic of constant pressure, and we pay dearly for it. Exhaustion, frustration, a feeling of emptiness. That's why we need to relearn how to live, not with more rules, but with more presence, not with more effort, but with more surrender. Life isn't a project to be completed. It's an experience to be felt. And the more you surrender to this experience, the more it reveals you, the more it transforms you. Not because you're trying, but because you're allowing it, allowing yourself to be. It seems simple, but for many of us, it's a lifelong challenge. We're taught to be useful, productive, strong, and coherent, but we're rarely taught to be whole, to sit with our pain without fixing it, to feel fear without judging ourselves, to embrace our own imperfection as part of the dance. And in this process, you begin to realize something precious, that you are not alone, that there is a greater force, silent but ever present, guiding everything. Watts called this the flow of life, or simply the Tao. It's not something external. It's an intelligence that manifests when you stop interfering, when you step out of the way and let life flow through you. This surrender isn't passivity. It's not giving up. On the contrary, it's the most radical form of trust, trusting that, even without knowing, all the next steps you're exactly where you need to be. That every moment holds a lesson, even if it's not yet understood. That every breath is a new beginning. And from this state of silent trust, everything takes on a new dimension. Relationships become more honest. Decisions become more aligned. Your energy shifts. People feel it. Life responds. Watts said that the moment you stop searching for enlightenment is the moment it begins to reveal itself. And this is one of the greatest truths of the inner path. The less you try to force awakening, the more it happens naturally. Life doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence. It doesn't require you to understand everything, just that you be open. And if you've come this far, still with your heart and mind attentive, it's because something inside you is, indeed, awake. Perhaps still shy, perhaps still confused, but awake. And that's already immense. Because no matter how far you've strayed from yourself, returning home is always possible. Always. All it takes is a moment of presence, a sincere choice to look within and say, I am here, whole, just the way I am, and that is enough. And when this kind of acceptance begins to blossom, what emerges isn't a new character. It's you. Really. If you've made it this far, really, that already says a lot about you. Not everyone allows themselves to go this deep, to look inside honestly, to push through the discomfort and hear something that goes beyond the noise of the world. It's rare, and it's beautiful. So if this conversation touched you in any way, if it made sense to you, leave a comment here saying, "This message was for me." That's it. It's a simple way for me to know you've stuck with me until the end. And also to create that silent connection between those who are on this journey together. And if you feel the need to continue exploring topics like this, if it makes you feel good, strengthens you, reminds you of who you are, subscribe to the channel. This space is made for this, for us to walk together, slowly, deeply, and truthfully. Please leave a like too. It's a small gesture, but it shows the message got through, and it helps keep this channel alive, with more conversations that truly matter. Oh, and before you go, there's a video right here that complements everything we've talked about so far. Click it and stay with me there. I think you'll like it.